Guys, I have some great news. We did it. We finally managed to get a voice actor for Tyrone. I'll admit, it wasn't very easy at first to find him, but we did. So yeah, Tyrone isn't leaving the series after all, which is great on our part because honestly, how can you have the Backyardigans if you don't have one of the main characters? Now, I know a lot of you guys are most likely confused as to why I'm updating this particular episode of the show, that being A Nightmare on Backyard Street, rather than the episode before it, Rainy Days. Well, to be honest, the writers of the show were really having issues trying to come up with a decent plot for the episode itself. I'm not joking around with you guys when I tell you that working on that episode was like trying to make beets taste good. It didn't work, and the end results were messy as hell. Writers were fighting over what kind of jokes and concepts were going to be put in the episode. Many people who made suggestions for the episode itself just made it, in their words, not mine, a whole lot shittier. So in the end, the episode itself was scrapped entirely, and production and writing for the next episode was started on immediately, which meant 2 scrapped episodes in total. That certainly was not going to look good for the higher-ups at Nickelodeon. Thankfully, we didn't get any threats from the higher-ups or anything, but I can certainly see problems in the near future if any more episodes are dropped from the series. So, that was pretty much the reason why I hadn't updated the progress of the show in about a month or so. There just wasn't really anything to provide, episode-wise that is. Luckily though, we didn't dilly-daddle with the episode. In less than a matter of a couple of weeks, everything was completed and ready for syndication. Now, before I get into the episode itself, you're all probably wondering how and why we managed to get these episodes done at such a fast pace. Well, actually, we just have a lot of help. Mostly from interns, but still. The other way that we managed to make these episodes as quickly as we can is simply by making them as early as possible. Even before the actual episode is done, we're already working on the newer episodes. With, of course, the exception of Rainy Days. I honestly hope that explains everything to you guys. Anyway, once production was over, I was given the flash drive with the episode on it, and once my shift was over, I went home, grabbed my computer, and of course slipped the USB drive into it. The episode started up like normal, which is kind of obvious by now, I guess. And once it had finally ended, the title card came up. The title card showed a rather eerie picture of all the characters in a boiler room of some sort, running away from a disembodied glove with jagged blades in the tips of each gloved finger. Connected to said glove was a huge, dark mass that really didn't have much of a form to it. At least not one that I could make out, that is. The music playing in the background of the title card was much higher in a mixed up pitch of the Nightmare on Elm Street theme music. Obviously made in our different ways so in order to avoid copyright issues. Which honestly, even though it was parodied, it still was a rather nice touch. After a few seconds, the title card melted. Yes, it melted. Slowly down the screen with a soft maniacal laugh playing after the title card melted completely, with the title of the episode flashing with white lettering saying, A Nightmare on Backyard Street. The first act of the episode started with the view of the now familiar backyard with all the houses of the Backyardigans in full view. The setting was that of the night sky with the usual cricket noises and a few hoos from an owl in the background. There were no lights on in any of the houses, only the moon providing any kind of light for the area. The camera then panned over towards Uniqua's house, with the camera slowly going up until it reached the top bedroom window of what I assumed was Uniqua's bedroom. The scene then cut to the inside of Uniqua's room with the sound of tossing and turning being heard, only for the camera to pan towards the bed with the groaning and tossing sound growing louder and louder. The scene then zoomed into Uniqua's face, which looked like she was suffering through a rather horrible nightmare. A flash of white appeared on the screen for about a second or two, until it cleared out to show Uniqua walking in the backyard at night in her pajamas. What am I doing out here? I'm supposed to be in bed, aren't I? Uniqua asked herself as she looked around the backyard with a hint of confusion in her voice. Seriously, I don't remember getting up at all. And even if I did get up, I most certainly wouldn't be outside at this time or night. Uniqua continued to walk around the backyard for a bit, were returning back to her house and making her way towards the back door. Well, I'll admit, the walk was nice enough, but I need to get back to bed before my parents freak out and start going crazy. Uniqua giggled before opening the door. Once she opened the door, the scene panned to reveal that there was nothing behind the door except pitch blackness. Uniqua looked at the darkness in front of her, scratched her head, and then closed the door slowly. Okay, I know for an absolute fact that my bedroom door doesn't lead to an eternal pit of darkness. We even have a butterfly nightlight next to the back door, so it shouldn't have been dark at all, Uniqua said, her body shaking slightly. Maybe I should just go through the front door. Maybe that might help. Uniqua then made her way off the back porch and then started making her way towards the front door of her house, trying to be as careful as possible as to not try and bump into anything. Then she made it to the front door of her home and tried attempting to open it up, only to find out that it was locked. Great. Now how am I going to get inside? Uniqua said as she slapped her arms down to her side in frustration. Then a small light bulb appeared above Uniqua, which then sputtered and shattered not long after it had popped up. Ah, that's right! I forgot about the key under the mat. She then bent down towards the welcome mat that was beneath her feet, and lo and behold, the key was right there. She picked it up, placed the key into the lock, and then unlocked the door. Oh, sweet, now I can finally go back to bed, Uniqua said with a yawn. Once she had opened the door, the inside of the house looked very different from what a normal living room should have looked like. The camera quickly panned into the interior of the home, the entire living room looking like the inside of a boiler room, with pipes jutting out random blast of steam, and a small furnace in the middle of everything spitting out fire like a flamethrower. Uniqua immediately slammed the door shut and said in a calm voice, "There is no way in heck I'm going in there."
Oh, aren't you sure about that?
A ghostly whisper emanated from my headphones that caused me to jump slightly. Who said that? Uniqua yelled out as she turned around, trying to find the source of the voice.
Over here,
the voice called out again. The camera then showed a dense forested area surrounding the house. Okay, I don't remember there being a forest this close to my house, Uniqua said, shocked. And why is someone calling me over there? Where? What's going on?
The forest.
If you honestly think that I'm going into a forest with you, you've got another thing coming, Uniqua said flatly. No sound. I guess that takes care of that, Uniqua said triumphantly for some reason, when all of a sudden, a large blue and yellow striped arm with a brown glove and protruding blades came out of the tips of the fingers, grabbed a hold of the pink polka-dotted ladybug, and dragged her into the house. Hey! Uniqua yelled out as the hand dragged her from the boiler room living room, up the stairs and into her room. Once Uniqua had made it into her room, the hand that was holding her dropped to their bed and quickly retreated out of the bedroom door, shutting it in the process. Uniqua, about as confused as anything else, said, "What just happened? Am I dreaming or something?"
You bet you are, you little bug!
The camera zoomed out to reveal the same arm from before. It grabbed Uniqua by the collar of her shirt and slammed her, quite violently I might add, on her ceiling, pinning her down. Uniqua had a look of pure horror engraved on her face as the arm started wrapping itself around her neck slowly. Then, the rest of the monster attached to the arm slowly made its way towards Uniqua, and just as the thing was about to face her, Uniqua screamed. When she did this, the screen melted quickly, and then transitioned to Uniqua falling from the ceiling and down on her bed in a slow-motion sequence. The sound of Uniqua's scream must have been pretty loud, since both of her parents came running into her room. Uniqua, are you okay, sweetie?" Uniqua's mother said, panicked. Uniqua didn't say anything, but instead she looked around her room and breathed a sigh of relief. "Whew, I'm okay, Mom. Just had a really bad nightmare," Uniqua responded back. "Are you sure, honey? Your arm is bleeding," her father said. The scene cut to Uniqua lifting up her arm, only to show 3 long cuts running along it and ending at a small tear in her short-sleeved pajama top. Small amounts of CGI blood dripped down her arm. "Come on, sweetie, let's get that patched up," Uniqua's father said as he went to go and pick her up. The rest of the scene was just Uniqua's wound getting patched up by her father, which I thought was a little bit unnecessary, as it made the scene a lot longer than what it should have been. Anyway, after that, the scene faded to show the bus stop with Pablo, Tasha, Tyrone, and Austin all in their school uniforms, waiting for the bus. "Well, at least it's the last day of school," Pablo said excitedly. "You bet. Now I can finally finish up on that new robot I've been working on," Austin responded back. "You're still working on that robot Roscoe toy? I thought you were done with that thing weeks ago," Tasha said. Not really. I wanted to add some newer features to it so that it could respond properly to whoever talked to it." "Oh. Well, okay. That's pretty interesting. So, have any of you guys seen Uniqua? She's gonna miss the bus," Tasha said. "I haven't," Tyrone chimed in. "Neither have I. Honestly, I wonder if she's sick or something," Austin said. "Hey guys, there she is," Pablo exclaimed. The scene then cut to show Uniqua walking towards the group. "Hey Uniqua, how's everything going?" Pablo said. "I'm doing okay," Uniqua said. Austin then walked up to Uniqua and gave her a big hug. "Good morning, Uniqua." "Hey, Austin," Uniqua responded flatly. After the hug, Uniqua went over to the main bus stop area and sat down in the long metal seats inside the stop. The other student quickly followed suit and sat down beside her. Everyone, with the exception of Uniqua that is, all looked a little concerned. "Hey, Uniqua, you don't look so good," Pablo said. "I know," Uniqua said flatly. "Didn't get that much sleep last night, did ya?" Tyrone interjected. "No, not really," Uniqua answered with the same flat tone. "Have you been playing that video game again? I told you that it's..." Tasha was going to continue on saying what she was saying, but was soon interrupted when Uniqua gave a flat no to her question. "Well, don't worry, Uniqua. You can sleep on my shoulder on the bus if you..." Austin was going to continue his sentence, but then his eyes widened. The camera then showed the bandages around Uniqua's arm. "Uniqua, what happened to you? Why is your arm bandaged up?" Austin said, concerned. "I had a really bad nightmare," Uniqua responded back. "It must have been really bad, honestly, if your arm's all cut up like that," Pablo said, looking at the bandages. "Do you want to talk about it?" Austin asked softly. "Later, at lunch," Uniqua said once more. After the conversation, the bus pulled up from the right side of the screen, and everyone went on. The scene then cut to the inside of the school with Pablo sitting in a classroom, attempting to try and keep himself awake with the boring lesson that was being taught by a teacher of his. However, after about a few seconds, Pablo's head fell to the desk with a small thud before he was immediately woken up from the force of his head hitting the desk. He then lifted his head up with his arm and yawned. Then a soft voice called out once more, "Over here!" Pablo immediately lifted his head up to where the voice was coming from, and with that, the screen cut to the door of the classroom. The door was open, and in the doorway, there was Pablo's teddy. It was just sitting there, not moving. The screen then cut back to Pablo, who had a very confused look on his face. "Teddy?" Pablo began. "What are you doing here? I thought I left you at home." "Come here. Come play," the soft voice returned. Then the teddy bear began to slowly walk away, which caused Pablo to start running after it. Now, at this point in time, I was really amazed at how well they were doing this parody. It was dark, a little creepy, and interesting at that. What I honestly thought was odd, though, was the fact that Pablo had left the classroom without anybody noticing. He kept on going towards the hallway, trying to catch up with a stuffed bear. That is, until the bear went into a small room and disappeared into thin air. Pablo continued to look around for the bear, only to find no trace of it. "Oh man, am I losing my mind or something?" Pablo said as he leaned up against the wall, right next to the water fountains.
You bet. You shiny little blue head. You little freak.
Pablo immediately turned around to face who, or what in this case, had spoken to him in that tone of voice. And there, About what seemed like a few feet away from him was the same unknown shadowy figure that had attacked Uniqua earlier. The camera panned over towards the figure, which already had started to extend its blue and yellow arms, the right hand of said arm waving its knife-tipped glove around. It then cut to Pablo, whose pupils had shrunken down to the size of pen dots, who quickly began running down the hall towards the classroom. As he does this, the camera pans back over towards the monster, whose arms are still stretched out to try and catch Pablo, the lights going out one by one as the hands got closer and closer. Then, in a split-second effort to try and ditch the monster, he came up with a small plan. "I can't believe I'm doing this," Pablo sighed. With one swift motion, Pablo started sliding on his belly like a penguin, which was actually kind of funny in the light of this entire dark sequence. And this actually seemed to help Pablo out a lot, as he was able to get himself away from the psycho hands. However, once he got to his classroom, he quickly grabbed his teddy bear from the door that was, oddly enough, right next to the entrance, and slammed the door shut. Pablo then let out a sigh of relief as he walked back to his desk. "Oh, wow, Teddy, that was some spooky stuff out there," Pablo said. "You bet it was, Pablo," Teddy said. Pablo then looked back down at his teddy bear, horrified. The camera then cut to the teddy bear and Pablo's flippers. Its head was a dark, looming shadow, and the small, brown, fluffy arms had been replaced with the same yellow and blue striped arms that had been trying to get to Pablo earlier on in the hallway. The scene then showed Pablo, with one of the arms latching itself onto him and shoving him into the back wall of the classroom, pinning him there. He soon started struggling as the other arm, the gloved one, made its way closer to Pablo's face.
"Lights out, freak!"
The voice yelled, before slashing Pablo across the face with the sharp knives. Pablo screamed, and then fell to the floor with his flippers covering his face. "Pablo, oh my goodness, are you alright?" the teacher cried out as she made her way over towards Pablo. The scene then cut back to Pablo, who had now started lifting his face up. And oh my gosh, was his face messed up. When he looked up at the screen, there was a pair of 5 claw marks going down from the right side of his forehead all the way down to his chin. There was also small trickles of cartoony blood going down his face, and his left eye was half open, with the eye itself looking damaged, and the actual eye itself looking purple, with a hint of red as well mixed in. The camera cut back to the teacher, who immediately had a few students of hers take Pablo to the nurse's office. The scene then faded for a bit, until the next scene of everyone eating at the cafeteria was shown in a bird's-eye view. The scene then faded once more to show all the Backyardigans, minus Pablo that is, all sitting down at the table eating lunch together. "So, Uniqua," Austin began. "Yeah, Austin?" Uniqua responded back. "You said you were going to explain how you got that wound on your arm. How did you get it?" Uniqua took another sip of her milk jug, and then began explaining about her dream, what she had saw, and the monster who had attacked her. When she had finished, the others looked at her with a bit of shock on their faces as well, and then they all proceeded to tell their own version of their stories with the same exact monster in their dreams. As they were talking amongst one another, Pablo came by from off-screen and sat down next to his friends with an eye patch and multiple bandages all over his face. "Pablo, what happened to you?" Tyrone said, shocked. Pablo didn't answer the question. He just sat there, shaking slightly. "Pablo, are you all right?" Tasha asked. Pablo immediately turned his head, and the scars on his face were much more visible than last time. Well, at least the blood had been cleaned up, but the scars were still pretty nasty. I was attacked," Pablo stuttered. "Attacked by what? That monster?" Uniqua asked. Pablo's eyes, well, his good eye, that is, immediately went wide as he looked dead-eyed at Uniqua. "Yeah, that was it. How did you—" "I had the same experience you had last night. The monster attacked me in my dreams and left me with this nasty scar on my arm." The camera then panned over towards Uniqua's arm as she pulled her polka-dotted sleeve up to reveal the bandages around it. "You guys, I don't know what's going on, but whatever is happening, we need to stop whatever is doing this," Tasha said. How in the world are we going to fight this guy? It's not like we can all go sleep over at one of our houses, access the same dream as each other by some chance, and then get rid of this guy, right?" There was silence for about a few seconds, before everybody began eating their lunch once again. "So, my house at 5? Austin said. "Yup," everyone responded. The scene then transitioned to a film burning effect, which went from the school to the Backyardigans' house at night. Then it cut to the inside of Austin's room, with all the other Backyardigans getting ready for bed. "You guys ready for this?" Austin asked. "No, not really. But what choice do we have?" Pablo answered. "Alright, you guys," Austin began. "Let's do this." With that, everyone in the room closed their eyes and snuggled themselves into their sleeping bags and soon fell asleep. The screen then abruptly flashed a mix of white, red, and orange before fading to the next scene, the backyard. When the screen cleared, all the Backyardigans were lying down on the grass. The first one to wake up was Pablo, then Uniqua, and then the others. Where are we?" Pablo asked. "I guess we're all in our dreams, or something along those lines," Austin answered. "But if that's the case, then why are we outside?" Tyrone interjected. "Well, from what I can remember, this was the same place where I had met that monster. At least, once I got to my front door, that is," Uniqua said. "So, what do we do now?" Tasha asked. "I guess we go the same route that I went the first time I came here," Uniqua said. What happened next was all the characters going in the same directions and everything else that Uniqua had went earlier in the episode. However, instead of any kind of dark emptiness in the back door, or even the creepy boiler room in the living room, everything was completely normal. I don't get it. This isn't right," Uniqua said. "You're telling me I still can't even fly in my own dream," Pablo exclaimed. Everyone looked at Pablo, and Tyrone said flatly, Pablo, you're a penguin. Penguins don't fly. Not even in dreams do you fly." "Oh, well that sucks," Pablo pouted. "Alright, you guys, seriously, we need to focus on this problem that we're having. Uniqua, do you remember any other ways that you could have triggered the monster's attack?" Austin asked. "I don't think so, to be honest." "Then, oh goodness, I don't even know anymore. Does anybody have any kind of plans?" Uniqua asked.
I do,"
a soft voice answered. "Who said that?" Pablo said, freaked out. "I have no idea," Austin said, looking around. Then, out of the blue, a giant blue and yellow striped arm came out of the door and grabbed Uniqua by the neck and dragged her into the house. The others tried to get to her in time, but unfortunately they had failed. Then after that, more arms came out and snatched each of the characters, sending them to different parts of the dream. Tyrone was taken to the forest, Pablo was taken to Uniqua's room, Tasha was dragged feet first to the back door of the house, and Austin was taken and thrown up in the air. However, once he started falling, he had hit the ground. Although it didn't look like he was injured or anything, which was good. He looked around him and saw that he was in a boiler room of some sort. "You guys?" Austin yelled out. Silence. "You guys!" Austin yelled out once more. After calling out a few more times, Austin began walking in a random direction until he found a large metal door. Upon opening it, he was greeted with a large hallway in front of him. "Are you serious right now? I guess I better get walking," Austin sighed. As he continued to walk, the camera cut to the other characters in a dark room with the same pipes and steam, most likely a room from the same boiler room. Now, what was odd with this scene was the fact that everyone was in the same room. Despite the fact that the monster all captured them, they all went into different areas. I guess maybe all those places that they were dragged to led to the same place. But if that's actually the case, then why wasn't Austin in the same room? It was very odd indeed. Now, back to the episode. Pablo, Uniqua, Tasha, and Tyrone were all in the room, pacing back and forth. what are we gonna do? Pablo asked. Like I said, I have no idea. I don't know, Pablo, Tyrone said back. Come on, guys, there has to be something that... Tasha was immediately interrupted by the sound of their door. Yes, the room had a door, which I guess was locked or something, opening up. The doorway filled with nothing but darkness. Holy crap! Tyrone yelled out. The others began panicking and screaming in horror, running around like a cockroach dipped in a cup of poison. Then the monster began to speak.
You little freaks thought you could try and stop me? Huh?
Maybe? Tyro said, cowering.
Well, let me tell you something right here and right now. Whatever it is you're thinking, don't even try it. You're not gonna win. There's not gonna be any happy ending to this episode. No, not one. You're all gonna die, and that's final.
Why are you doing this? Tasha screamed.
It's simple. I've been doing this for over a millennia. My job is to wreak havoc on the lives of young children, and then in the end, tear them to shreds.
That doesn't explain anything at all, Pablo said flatly.
It doesn't matter. Now, it's time to...
The voice became less and less creepy, and then as the figure moved itself into the light, everyone's jaws dropped. There, right in front of them, was Austin! How is that even possible? Austin just looked at everybody with a funny look, and then he started laughing. This isn't funny, Austin! Tasha yelled. It is to me. I can't believe you, Austin. You're the one behind all of this? You're the one who scratched me and Pablo up? Uniqua said, upset. Yup. How'd you guys like this little prank I did? Pablo then marched up towards Austin and said very darkly, I honestly can't believe that you were the one who did all of this. Not only did you scare the living heck out of all of us, but you clawed me and your freaking girlfriend. You're one disgusting, sick son of a... Just as Pablo was about to finish his sentence, the wall beside all of them was smashed open by another character. Everyone, with the exception of Austin that is, looked back at the hole that was made. Once the dust had cleared, the character that had made the hole in the wall came in, and it was none other than Austin. Oh, dang it, that was a pain in my butt. Hey, who's that guy? Austin said as he pointed towards his doppelgänger. Wait, if you're the real Austin, then who is... Pablo immediately turned around, only for the fake Austin to start laughing maniacally, his eyes rolling in the back of his head, and his head turning around in a 360-degree motion. By the end of that, the face that once was Austin's had now been turned into a burnt and crazy-looking replica of Freddy Krueger, but in kangaroo form, I guess.
So, you little freaks, ready to play?
Everyone just looked at the monster, and then ran out of the room screaming. Everyone just looked at the monster, and then ran out of the room screaming. The monster said, slowly walking out of the door. The scene then cut to all the characters running into another room, closing the door and barricading it by holding onto the door. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? Pablo said, going into his infamous panic attack. Pablo? What? We're all gonna die. The monster's gonna slice us up like ham. Pablo. And then what's next? Our show's gonna get canceled and we won't even have a job after that. Pablo! Yeah? We're not gonna die. If horror movies have taught me anything, Pablo, it's that every monster has a weakness, Austin said with a smirk. And that is? Pablo questioned. This, Austin said, pulling out a large bottle of water. What's that? Pablo asked, confused. Holy water, Austin answered. Where did you get that from? Tyrone asked. No time to answer that. Just open the door, and when he comes, I'll deal with the rest. After that, it cut to the monster walking down the hall and opening up the door to where the other Backyardigans were at. Once he had opened up the door, the monster was immediately doused with the holy water from the bottle, causing the beast to scream out in agony and start to inflate. Don't ask me why, I barely even understand it myself. Then the monster exploded into dust, and then the setting automatically popped back to the Backyardigans' backyard at night. Well, that was anticlimactic, Pablo said as his scar and wound disappeared from his body. Yeah, but you gotta admit, that was a pretty scary adventure, don't you think? Tyrone said. The other characters agree, before they sing their ending theme song. However, once they walked into the house after saying goodbye to the viewer, they all wake up to their sleeping bags and head downstairs for breakfast, as it was already morning at that time. Then, after that, the episode ends. So, my final thoughts on this episode was that it was a pretty okay parody episode. However, the only thing I didn't really care about in the episode was the rather lackluster action scene between the monster and the Backyardigans. I mean, if anybody who's watched Nightmare on Elm Street obviously knows that there's a crazy action scene in the end. But that's pretty much where this episode falls flat. I don't know why they didn't put an epic action scene in it, but I guess I really won't ever know. But I will make it clear to at least a couple of the writers to try and at least add a few things to the episode to make it pretty awesome in the end. So, that was pretty much my update for the month. Thank you all again for your support, and I'll update the episode. I'll update as soon as the next episode is made.